Was that
Yeah,
me? Okay.
that was me. People was calling my phone. My bad.
Okay,
So,
I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to be Murky Riley on here right now.
no, you good. You good. Well, hold on. So let me start over because like it seems like people don't call me until an interview start. I'd be like, well, okay, All
That's how
right,
they do.
starting over. Once again, thank you for doing this interview with me, and I really appreciate your time. I know it's valuable.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Right. I've been watching and doing some research on you, young lady. I said, ooh, I said this could be a very interesting interview because you have some very you got some very interesting topics and views on your thoughts and how you feel. So I can't wait for you to say it and let everybody know. This is the fun. I can't wait. So before we get into the nitty gritty, oh man, listen, I've been
It's
reading.
so funny.
I read everything. I watch all your little interviews, all your big dog. I don't watch everything, so I know what when I'm saying I'm laughing because I know that a lot of people don't want to hear the truth,
Yeah.
and you tell it to them. So that's good. That's why I'm laughing. But yeah, so let's let everybody know, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois. Most people don't know much about Peoria. It's a small city that's about 2 hours from Chicago. What I can say is Richard Pryor is from Peoria, Illinois. And then
Oh,
producers who worked a lot with Bobby Valentino, Tim and Bob. They're also from Peoria. So we're
great.
small, but we have a few people. So that's where I was born and raised. And I lived there throughout my childhood, moved to Florida when I was 16, and have now found myself in Memphis. So I've kind of been around. But I will say that so far, Florida has been my favorite. I just love the beach. You just can't beat it.
Right. I understand that. So let's talk about it. How was life growing up for you?
So, for me, I was very, very blessed. Like on some ends, like I'm definitely thankful to have had a childhood where my mom was very, very supportive of me. And I think that it helped to create the opportunities that I have now as far as performing. I was always into like theater and acting and dancing. And that was
Right.
something that, was a big part of growing up. But I also grew up without my father. And so I knew who my father was, but we didn't have a very close relationship. Our relationship was estranged. So that's a part of my childhood that was kind of difficult, getting through. But I'm very thankful that my mom was so hands-on. I had a hands-on grandfather that was really awesome. Took a lot of good care of us also. But I grew up in the church. Like I was, from the moment that I like started talking, like I was in church like 3 times
Right.
a week. So, God has always been a big part of my life, but
Right.
getting older, like into those later teenage years are when I really kind of drifted away from church and, just started doing what we kind of all do, partying, hanging out, turning up, getting really, really deep into hip hop. And so, I had an interesting, like, I kind of was goody two shoes on one end, but at the
Right.
same time, it was like there was another side of me just like itching to
Oh,
get out. So once
oh,
I had an opportunity to, I was
right.
kind of a trip, but I had a really good childhood, and I think I was very privileged because when I look at a lot of my friends, even not having a father, I can see where God protected me still from a lot of things. Whereas I can look at a lot of my friends who didn't pan out as well. So
Right.
I'm thankful.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So what first got you into music?
So this is what's really crazy. I never ever wanted to be a
Right.
rapper. I never saw myself becoming a rapper. Like I always loved music. Like I grew up like headphones constantly. Like everywhere I went, I was always listening to music. But it wasn't until I got into high school, and I was just taking like a simple chorus class. And by the time, like we got everything done really quick. We did like a little play or musical, and we had like a lot of time, so it was kind of like a free period. So I was hanging out with some of the guys, and they started like making beats and stuff. And so I
Okay.
remember being in the studio with them one time during class, and they were like, you know, rapping. They're like, Murk, you gon' not Murk, I wasn't Murk then.
Right.
Mercedes, you gonna get on the track? And I was like, no. And I remember going home like after and writing a verse on the bus and then coming back to school like, hey, I'm gonna rap. And they were like, no. And I'm like, yeah. And so I ended up rapping. They were like, girl, you're actually good. So
What?
long story short, one of the guys who was a part of that group, he ended up becoming my boyfriend, and he was really serious about rap. So he was like constantly writing. So we would write together. I was about 16 then. So I started just kind of doing little stuff in my book, but I never took it seriously. And at that time, I was just rapping about what was popular. So it wasn't like I had any real connection to it. It was just what I thought was hot, but I never saw it as something to pursue. So I kind of just let it go. Like I did it for a couple years, put a couple songs on MySpace, like with my little cousin, and just dropped it. And it wasn't until I turned like 21 and rededicating my life back to Christ that I realized that I actually had an anointing and a gift and a calling to do it.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, how did you come up with the name Murk? And then you do gospel. I'm like, okay, we 31 gang Murk. I said, what, girl?
I know. So
Very catchy.
initially Murk was just short for Mercedes. Like I just had a couple of coworkers. So I used to work at State Farm Insurance, and my coworkers just started calling me Murk. And so I just was using that name. And so when I initially decided to call myself Murk, I didn't plan to spell it that way. I planned to spell it Merk. But then my little cousin that was like recording me and putting my stuff on YouTube, he was adamant about it being Murk. And I'm like, no, you know, I'm not talking about murder, anything like that. But then I actually got revelation about it. And God was just reminding me of the scriptures that talk about how we have to die to our flesh daily. And of course, that's the negative side of us, the bad side of us, the part that holds us back from really being who he wants us to be spiritually. And so he kind of ministered to me about having to kill the old person in order to become who he was wanting me to be. And then also showing me that part of my specific gift, because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of different rappers, but there's not often where you can find out what your specific purpose is. And I'm so thankful to know that, because he kind of revealed to me that whatever the industry was pushing that was negative, you know, negative toward our women or communities, that I was supposed to kill that. I'm supposed to attack it directly. So it's definitely, like you talked about, it puts me in that space of having to be very bold and very courageous to do that. But that's how they call me Murk. So now most times people see me and I'm sweet, you know, I'm smiling, but when the track comes on, I just sometimes have to murk some stuff.
Right.
That's
Because
just how it has to go.
just like you got the good energy, good vibe, and it's just like, look, like, don't let this pretty face fool you. I'm murking these beats. Stop playing with me. I feel you. Hey, listen, you just dropped your new album on Friday. Set some of up, you know,
Yes.
31 gang, you know, blowing it up. Okay.
You're so tickled.
So let's talk about this album though. What can the fans expect from this album? I know it just dropped, but tell us about the album.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I see some of my fans that are tuning on in here who've been listening. It actually ended up coming out earlier than what I anticipated. It was supposed to be the 4th, but it ended up hitting the stores on August 31st, which was really cool because that's what I was shooting for, 31 Gang. But 31 Gang is very different from anything that I've done before. And it's very, it has a very heavy message. And I think that for me, it was important to be a voice for women that's contrary to what they're hearing now in mainstream and in the industry. And so I was really motivated by a lot of the artists that come out in a positive way and in a negative way. You know, I've been looking at a lot of female artists that are really arising, and it's an amazing time for females in the hip hop industry. I don't remember the last time it's been years since we've had so many different women. And so for me, like I celebrate that, but then the negative part of it was the message that I was like, man, like this just can't be the message for young girls, like for women, you know? And so for me, it was like, this is really, I call it just a war album. Like if you want something in contrary to what's hot, but you still want to have fun and you still want to dance and you still want to be able to, you know, just feel a little bit ratchet at times, but you want
Right.
a positive message, then that's what this is. So for me, it was to really empower women outside of their body, their sexual ability, and just really speak to the other things that are valuable about us.
That's what's up. Now, one thing I do like about you, I like how you promote women empowerment, and I think that's very important. When you promote that, you promote it from a positive um, perspective rather than. So I do get what you're saying. With some of the women, they drop music and they promoting women empowerment, like stand up for yourself, but the message they're giving with some of the stuff they're saying is kind of like, you know, backsliding or
Yeah,
degrading. It can be
yeah.
the on how you look at it and how you take it. So I like what you're doing. That's why I was so excited to do this interview on you because listen, I got you written down all over the place. I got all your quotes. I look at your whole history. So that's why I'm smiling because I'm like, yo, I got some main questions I want to ask her, but I want to get to it on the bill. That's why I'm laughing because you're exactly the way I imagined that Jill's gonna be. I was like, she's gonna be a real sweetheart, but let her talk. So I already knew that's what's up because I want to talk about devotional too, that book. But we'll
Okay.
talk about. So let's so the album. What single are you pushing off the album?
So this is crazy. So really the single is, I would say, is No Ring. No Ring is the single featuring D1, who's another super dope artist from New Orleans. I originally put out a version of the song last year, and then I like hit it once I realized I
Right.
wanted to do a feature. So that's my single I'm pushing right now. But the crazy thing is, at this point, like people are just, their favorites are all over the place, which is really,
Right.
really dope. But it has me like, I was thinking like the single would just be, but people are just like, they love 31 Game, they love so many different ones, but No Ring is what, you know, I'm really pushing first.
All right, that's what. So go stream that right now. You heard it first from the superstar herself, Murk. Hey,
Yeah.
I love the concept because let's talk about this Proverbs 31 or the way you get this P31 and all. Let's talk about that because I feel like that's very interesting. I never seen somebody do that. So can you explain to us what does that mean and tell us
So
about the verse?
yeah, so Proverbs 31 is a full chapter, and it begins with a mother actually teaching her son, and she's warning him of certain things, you know, to protect him and to bring him success. And she starts talking about women and telling him what kind of woman he should be looking for. And so a lot of people don't know that that it's actually written by a mother to her son, but it goes into the type of character that a woman should have. And you know, we talk about a woman of God, you know, godly, but I feel like it's for all women. You know, it's a character that we are supposed to strive to. So Proverbs 31 just teaches us that we are worth far more than rubies, and that's one of the main verses that we know, that just speaks to the value and the worth of a woman. And it says, "Who can find a virtuous woman like this?" So it speaks to just how difficult and challenging it is, and I think it's relevant to today, because I hear a lot of men that complain about, like, you know, if you are a good man, you got to deal with these savages, you got to deal with these women who just want to dog you or just want to go to dinner or lunch or get something to eat, but don't really, you know, want anything more than that. And so I think it speaks to, you know, just how difficult it can become a woman, you know, of also to find that type of woman. And so it ends by talking about how charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. And so that was very important to me to push that message in today's generation, because it is Bible, you know, and a lot of us look at it like, oh, that's old, that's played out. But I think that it's important for us to pay attention to how relevant the Bible is, because when we talk about charm and deceitful, we see that we're living a generation where it's all about social media, it's all about Instagram, it's about the makeup, how you're looking, and oftentimes we're not looking at what's happening on the inside. Like, are we hurting? Are we in toxic relationships? Are we secretly insecure, low self-esteem, and like needing to get likes? So it makes us very superficial. And so what I see now is a generation of women who don't necessarily love themselves for who they are, but just for what makeup they're wearing. And so it's very important to bring women back to the place of the inner beauty. And I think that that's, you know, the biggest part of what Proverbs 31 really speaks of. It speaks of who she is to her husband, how he can trust her. It speaks to how she does her business. You know, she's a businesswoman. She has multiple streams. It speaks to how she takes care of her children. And these are all things that we see in today's woman kind of staying away from.
That's what's up. So let's talk about how are you merging the ministry with your music and the urban side and the rap side. Like, how are you merging the two together? Because I noticed that you use Bible verses in your lyrics, and you know you speak a lot on a lot of things. So how are you merging the two together?
So it's an anointing. I will say, I was gonna say it's an art, it's a craft, but it's, you know, you have to be in this space to where you're able to not be super preachy to where it turns people off, and to where you can still kind of keep it fun and keep it relevant and current, but still slide the messages in there. So like
Right.
on this album 31 Gang, you may not hear one direct Bible quote, like you may not hear one verse, but I've learned how to communicate things without having to say John chapter 3 verse 6 says this, and it allows you, even if they don't necessarily, can you still see me? Okay.
Your camera, I can hear you clear, but your camera froze. There you go. Still frozen, but I can hear you though. Now,
Okay. So it allows you to kind of, like, for me, it's very, very important that even though my message is strong, that the music hit just as hard, that it still feels great, like that you could, and for this album specifically, I'm like, okay, if you take the hottest artists that are out right now and you put you know, Murk song right in the middle of it, it's just still be like, hey, okay, you know, we like this. So
right.
it, you know, I have to keep an ear to what's hot, and I have to keep an ear to what's relevant in order to so it's really just a skill, you know, and you have to kind of find your way. And for me, it was important to kind of reinvent myself, because as young as I look, I'm older than like all of the artists that are out right now. And so you know, so it's an interesting thing, but for me it's like I want the music to be bumping, I want it to be hot, I want it to be current, relevant, but I always want a message in there.
Right. That's what's up. So my question is, do you feel like it's hard for female gospel artists as a rappers? Is it hard for you to make a statement in this industry, even on the gospel side? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, every side got their own battles. So
Yeah.
you as a rapper, is it hard?
I don't think so. I think that
Okay.
I mean, we, of course we don't have the level of exposure. Like oftentimes you're not gonna see us, you know what I'm saying, with millions of views. Like, you know, it's already set to kind of promote what they want promoted. And so in terms of, you know, is it a little bit harder? Do you have to work sometimes a little harder to get out there? Yes. But as far as the connection, I think that I've had a great experience with over my career, to where I've been able to have people who don't typically listen to gospel rap, who don't really listen to Christian music, who are like, man, this is bumping. Like, I don't normally listen to stuff like this, but I like it. So it's been a great opportunity for me to kind of connect nonetheless. Now, I will say on the gospel side, it could be even more challenging, because, you know, you do have people who really favor their music. Like, they favor the singers and they want you to sing and they want you to get the keys.
Right.
And, you know, that's typical. So sometimes hip hop can be like the stepchild of gospel. So that can be a interesting thing to navigate. But now it shouldn't be, because hip hop is running the world. You know, it's It doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, where you live, where, I mean, you love hip hop. Like everyone's listening. Hot 100 Billboard, 2 female rappers. So that just speaks to the culture. So really it continues to allow me to have a platform.
Right. So if you could change anything about the industry, what would it be?
It would be to definitely just the message. Like it would be to have a message that is much more uplifting to us as a people, as a
Okay.
community. And that's not even just on the female side, even on the male side. You know, I mean, just we're talking about drugs, we're talking about killing each other, we're talking about suicide, anxiety, like a lot of that stuff, depression is like a big theme, you know, in music overall. And so
Right.
it would just for us to redirect the message, because I think that so many people are so talented and so gifted, but that's the part that's missing. And you have artists who feel like if I don't talk about these things, I won't get paid. You know, like Lil Baby, you'll have them say like, this is what they talk about. This is what I need to talk about. This is, you know what I'm saying? If I wasn't talking about this, I wouldn't get money. So I think the support behind it not just being messages that really tear down the Black community, which to me is very strategic, you know, just a change in the direction.
Okay, that's what's up. I hear you, 31 gang gang. You know what I'm saying? So what do you feel like you sacrifice in your personal life for your career?
Oh, so much, so much. Just me, like, you know, and I'm still growing and I'm still learning, and those are things that really keep me humble and keep me grounded, because when you are someone who stands up for righteousness and who
Right.
stands up, you know, for God, like you do have people constantly watching you. So I became a role model very quickly, and you have a lot of people, like you hear artists oftentimes just say like, you know, I'm not a role model. You know, I'm not doing this for your kids. Like, don't let your
Right.
kids listen to my music. But what you don't realize is the moment that you hit the spotlight, that you decide, you become a role model, whether you want to or not. So for me, you know, a lot of those character flaws, you know, that I'm still working through. Like Murk doesn't get to be out at the club twerking. I don't get to do that. You know, even if I feel like I want to, I feel like I just want to get out real quick. You know, like some of those things where I was challenging, you know, alcoholism was a challenge for me because of my father struggled with it. So there were
Right.
things that I just had to really die to and put aside to be able to walk this. I think relationships, you know, are a big thing, because it's, you know, for me, I have a very different anointing and calling. So I can be traveling, you know, I don't know, 25 weeks out of the year and on the road. So you have to have someone who understands, like, this is what you do, who's not jealous of that, who is a part of that. Because I'm also not someone who would want to be married and have children and be like, oh, I'm all over the road, I don't have time. So it's like, even in those things, and just being very specific about the dating and the relationships, and, you know, sometimes my family aspect being held back for a certain time and a certain season because I'm so busy working on this. I
Right.
think that was a lot. And just, you know, just fear, like comfort. You know, I had to really sacrifice comfort, because especially when you're doing something like this, like it takes a lot anyway. You know, you're hustling, you're grinding. I mean, I'm sacrificing a lot of money. I could work a regular job, you know,
Right.
but specifically when you're doing ministry, a lot of times you're sowing your time, you're sowing your talent, you're giving. You see young girls who don't have money, you give away your CDs just because you want them to have it and you want them to have the message. So, you know, some of those things, as well as just the sacrifice that it takes to be in such a bold stance, you know, like I have to sacrifice that fear of like, what are they gonna say? Because I said, hi girls, city girls, come out to play. Like I'm calling these people out. What's gonna happen from that? And so all of those, that timidity and all that stuff, you know, I just had to leave it to the side.
That's what's up. Well, I like what you're doing. You got a good light shining through you. So let's talk about Kingdom Culture that you dropped in 2017.
Yeah.
What was the message behind that?
So Kingdom Culture was cool because it allowed me to have like a dual message. So part of that message for Kingdom Culture was definitely about just really defining the culture of the kingdom. So we have a culture, you know, we talk about culture a lot. We have a hip hop culture, we have a Black culture. we have all these different cultures, but then the culture that God calls us to is what we call kingdom culture. So it's a certain way of living. It's a certain way of how you move and how you shake and how you approach different things in your life. So for me, it was to teach you different aspects of kingdom. So how we deal with our finances, how we deal with our relationships, you know, how
Right.
we deal with worship. So that was like a big part of just really kind of resetting the culture. And then the second part of it was Black culture. It gave me an opportunity to speak on the issues that we were going through at the time. And so I have a song like Melanin that just talks about being Black and being beautiful and being a Black man, you know, and being valuable. A song like Rain that really just came from a place of hurt after I watched the Khalif Browder documentary about the
Okay.
young man that was, you know, killed Rikers Island. He committed suicide after being on solitary confinement for stealing a backpack. So like, you know, those were things that had me really charged. And I think
Right.
Jay-Z did the documentary about it. But yeah, so it gave me an opportunity to speak to Black culture as well as kingdom culture.
That's what's up. It seemed like you have a calling with every project that you drop. And so I'm curious to know, what is your creative process like? How do you get prepared when you go in the studio? Because like you be spitting facts, you be spitting bars, empowerment. It's amazing at what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know it's all gonna work out for you. You already making moves. You're doing this, but I know it's gonna continue to grow. So what is your creative process?
Thank you, DJ. It's weird because I wish that I could just have a process. Like it's the most difficult thing for me to do an album because like I look at my mentor, Mr. Dale. He can he'll drop an album like every year. He can go in the studio, knock out 5 songs in one night and be done. And for me, it could take me months like to do one song. And it's like it has to just it has to hit me. And it's really strange because it can hit me in the weirdest places. Like one of the songs I wrote, which became like my biggest song, P31, I was driving home from work and it's just
Right.
like lyrics. There's no music. It's just lyrics. So I just start writing down in my phone while I'm driving. I'm writing verses and
Oh
then I
God.
have to go back and get the music. The other day, like a Sit With Us, which is a favorite. It was like me in a shower and just this lyrics come. So it's crazy to where I feel like if I try to make it happen, it doesn't. It just, I have to be in the space. I will say that other artists do inspire me. So like 31 Gang was super easy because all I had to do was like, let me pull out Megan, let me pull out the City Girls, let me pull out Cardi, let me listen, you know. And so that's why I say like a positive and negative, because on one end I'm like, these girls are spitting, like they
Yeah.
can rap for real, and it gets me excited. I'm like, ooh,
Okay.
they really spitting. But then on the other side, it's like, I'm not here for that, so I gotta speak against that right there. So
Right.
that'll kind of fuel, but it's gotta be something that I realize is connected to my passion. Like just like the song I said about Khalif Browder, I watched that, was in tears, and then wrote a song. So it's like I've got to be moved by something, otherwise it just has to like fall on me. So it's crazy because I'm like, God has to give it to me because I can't just make it happen.
Okay. I feel you on that. So let's talk about Murk in season 2013. Let's talk
Oh,
about that. What space were we in 2000 Murk in season?
that's so far back, man. I never
Hey,
listened to Murk in
I
season.
told you. I told you. I was ready. I'm ready for you. I like what you're doing.
That's what makes you an incredible interviewer because of the research, the homework. You're the bomb. Merkin season was fresh, like out of me rededicating my life to God. So when I wrote Merkin season, I was like just new, like coming into it, like fresh out of being passed out drunk at the club, like fresh out. So when I sat down, like it was a very raw and like just it was a very raw album, and it was very big as far as my testimony and what I had come through and what I had been through, so much to the point to where people were like I ended up winning a competition, and that's kind of how my ministry started, my career started. People were telling me like, this is kind of hard, you know, you need to kind of like, you can do a little pop stuff, you can do a little Nicki Minaj a little bit, sing a little, like this is, you know, you
Right.
can cross over, because it was just that like But I feel like I'm getting back to that, and I like that freedom. But it was just
Right.
like an incredible time where I just felt so free, and I was so excited, and I was so happy about God and what he did. And I just wanted everybody to know about who he was. So I had like a lot of joy and energy creating that album, but I was still just so timid and not really fully sure, about who I was as an artist. But as far as the growth and development, but it definitely was one of those that I love because I love how fresh it was and where I was, but then I cringe because I'm like, ooh, I've grown so much since then. Since then.
That's what's up. So, okay, so what's next for you? Like with all the work that you've put in so far, yeah, you've been dropping for a long time. You working very hard. What do you feel like is next for you at this point in your career?
So for me, man, it's just so important to 31 Gang, man. Like I would say, like, I've never put what I prepared to put toward this album is
Right.
like I've never put so much work into it. And so even after this, like the promotional piece of it is just really making 31 Gang just a movement, making it more than an album and being able to create like a safe space for women who want to make that transition, from ratchet to righteous, like to really kind of create a community and just I think I want to walk in more leadership as far as mentorship for women. That's just really big on my heart. And I don't know fully what that looks like, but I see it. And I see so many of my fans that are drawing from me and are just like, man, we like this, we need this, we want this. So kind of creating a culture out of this and allowing it to grow. I definitely see more books. I see that happening for sure. My real passion outside of music is acting and theater. So that's big for me too. So some people know, like when I released my P31 EP, like a one-woman show, and I had like monologues that went with each song, and so things like that. I want to do some really amazing shows and bring the acting and all that stuff together again. But I definitely, like right now, I'm just like I'm on grind mode, like whatever we can do to just
Right.
push message in this kingdom. But I definitely see myself I think that I believe this is going to open up another space for me that I hadn't been able to touch. Even with you, like this is definitely one of my first, I would say, interviews outside of a gospel platform, which I'm very extremely thankful for because that's what I wanted. And that's what I've been shooting for so long. And so I just see that growing, and I really see me kind of being able to not just be in the gospel space, but really kind of take that message even further outside of those typical church borders.
That's what's up. So, do you feel like gospel music has changed from where, old school gospel, you know how that is.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's changed? Because you're basically like the new face of gospel music. Like you're a pretty young lady that rap and you coming with it. You know what I'm saying? So like you like a whole different avenue of gospel music. So like what's going on with that? Like what made you want to take it to that next level, gospel as far as rapping and stuff?
Yeah, so I think gospel, in some ways, it has evolved. Like when we think about old school church, like gospel, like Shirley Caesar and stuff like
Right.
that. But then I think that we have to credit Kirk Franklin for the evolution, and artists like Kirk Franklin or Fred Hammond that gave an R&B sound or gave, kind of brought that hip hop sound to gospel. But I think in that space they were singing, and I'm definitely not the first artist, like rapper, to do it this way. I have to definitely pay homage to artists like Mr. Dale, who's a mentor of mine that started in 2000, fresh out of the group 3-6 Mafia, was a member of that group, left the group, started doing it. Artists like Lecrae, who've been at it for a really long time. So I think that we've been here for a long time, but I think that in some ways, like we are getting more awareness about, there's so many of us that are doing it, a lot of other women who are doing it too, on the holy hip hop side. But I think that it's very important that we extend our reach even further. And even for me, if you listen to something like Kingdom Culture and 31 Gang, you hear a completely different sound.
Right.
It's very different. And I think because I strategically wanted it to sound more like today's mainstream. I was very specific about the beats, about what it sounded like, about what the flow was like, you know, in order for it to be like this. And so I think that what we're doing is artists who are really being strategic and smart about how they're doing it is they're making sure that they cross over to where their message is not just felt by Christians and it's not just understood by Christians, but by people, all kinds of people. And so I think that I'm probably one of the few that I don't know how to say it, like one of the few that is like intentionally like kind of creating that lane
Okay.
in today's time. Yeah.
That's what's up. Do you feel like Kanye West is creating a bridge between what's going on in the mainstream hip hop industry to the gospel side? Because, you know, Snoop Dogg did a gospel
Yep.
album,
Yep.
and more people are creating a bridge, especially Kanye is what he's doing with the church
Yep.
on Sunday. And I feel like that's great. I mean, from my personal opinion, because, you know, rappers like you tough, you know, you all in, P31, Proverbs, gang, gang, 31 gang, righteous, become righteous, not ratchet, win the healing. What else you say? Win the healing. You know, speaking to the mass. So I wrote it, you know, I got to so inspire the mass. Yeah, I got you all done. Got you all the way together. Don't worry about it. P31, go get that. It's out now. 31 gang, it's out. Get it.
It's
Right
out.
now.
Yeah, I do. I love what Kanye is doing, man.
Right.
I love what Kanye is doing. Kanye's always been a super talented, just gifted artist from the beginning. And I hated to see a lot of the things that he went through and some of the turns that he took and the judgment that came of it. But to see, I feel like everybody has an opportunity to be, you know, redeemed, chance to have another opportunity at what they're doing. I love it. I feel like when I saw it happening, I was like, yo, this is great. Like, this is awesome, you know, for us. I mean, it was awesome for him. I'm just thankful for all that he's been through. And I know he's still going through things, but to see that type of healing on that end, it opens up the ears to be like, man, you know, if Kanye is interested in these things, if he's looking more into God and the Bible, and maybe there's something more to it than what, you know, we've been thinking. And so I think it's great, and I'm really excited to see how he continues in his avenue. But I think one thing that is really, really solid too is just the free. I think I saw a lot of, which is weird, this is strange, but I saw a lot of Christian rappers be like more bold after Kanye came out. Like almost like we kind of struggled to kind of water down the message a little bit, but then you got somebody like Kanye who comes out and his album is like Jesus is King. Like he just comes out like this is what it is, and it's like, and it kind of makes a lot of other artists like, well, dang, you know, what have we been talking about? You know, maybe we're just being this inspirational, positive, but afraid of the gospel, you know, again. So I think that it was good too to kind of make some of those artists be like, well, shoot, Kanye can't be going harder for God than I am, you know. So, so it's cool.
That's what's up. So like after this quarantine, how do you plan to promote your, you know, use your platform, promote your amazing music to the mass? Because I know your message inspired the mass. How do you plan to do that after the quarantine? Where we going at? We going on tour? Going back on the road? We traveling? What's up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely get back on the road. That's so important because I love that piece of it is my favorite. Like, you know, the part of getting in the studio, actually recording, like that
Right.
part, I'm just like, oh, because I'll be so nervous. I'll be trying to get it right. But when I'm actually out there and I get to see you and touch you and hug you and, you know, all that stuff, and that's what I really love. And there will never, you can never replace like that personal touch. And I'm the kind of artist that it doesn't matter who's there. Like when it's over, I'm like, we hugging everybody. Like we kissing everybody. We doing autographs for everybody. That's just what we have. This is how it is. And so I can't wait to have that opportunity. And I think people need that again. Like I think this time has caused so many of us to be lonely and really fall into the solitude and miss that touch. So I'm really excited about that again. So we're definitely gonna do a tour. We're gonna get back on the road. But even before then, like I'm trying to get into these virtual concerts, like where I'm trying to create experience like for us even now. So I have a lot of different surprises up my sleeve for my fans with this album up until we're able to be free again.
So if you can collaborate with any gospel artist or hit other mainstream artists, who would it be? If you had a chance to come together with them and create some magic, talking, with a positive message, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think there's a label on it when you're being positive, just all
Yeah.
together. Who would
Yeah.
you want? Right.
This is such a tough question. Because one of the people that I really wanted to work with, he's featured on No Ring, which was really, really dope. And that was D1. But I would say outside of D1, I would love to work with Molly Music. Molly Music is just, man, he's just amazing. I mean, he's one of those rare talents that no one sounds like Molly. No one has his flavor, his style. Like he can sing and rap and he's just super dope. So I would love to work with Molly Music. And also Corinne Hawthorne. I really love her voice too. She's bringing a lot of swag to the gospel industry on the singing side. I really love what she's bringing to the table.
That's what's up, man. You got it. Manifest it, claim it, get your blessing.
That's right.
So, what message would you like to share with everyone who's watching you, who look up to you? I mean, from speaking on where you came from, some people are still passed out drunk in the club currently. You know what I'm saying? So I've been there, at one point. So what I'm asking, what positive message do you want to give to them right now that's watching? What you want to tell them?
I would just say that there's so much more life than what we settle for, and it's not, and it's not to be just condemned all the time or just to feel so bad about who you are, because oftentimes when we're living like that, we're having fun, we're enjoying ourselves. But the issue that I always found was the next morning. I just had a hangover. I was throwing up. My head was hurting, but none of the things that were bothering me, none of my anxieties, none of my worries or my stressors or the things that I had to face were any different or any better. I found myself making other decisions, that were silly, like when I was under the influence. And so that goes into toxic relationships and what comes from those relationships. Sometimes that's pregnancy. Sometimes that's, a lot of things that you're not really ready for. So it's so important to know that life is so much more than just that turn up, we partying, we doing this, we living once, we living and it's not even from like the biblical God just wants to give us rules. He wants to control us, but he really knows what's best. Like he really knows what's best because he made us, he created us, he made the world, he knows how we're supposed to function, he knows our purpose. And so everything that he gives us is to help us get closer to the best life possible. And so there's so much peace on that side. There's so much joy on that side. There's so much you don't have to worry about everything and figure things out because you walk with God and you just know that the path that you're on is going to lead to the best. Even though you're going to have trials and tribulations, you're still going to go through. But I would say for me, my life is so much more enhanced. The way that I see my future, the way that I can sleep well at night, the way that I can rest, just knowing that God's got me, even on those days where I do mess up, because it's not like, I'm just out here just holy roller doing it all the time, but to know that, okay, I messed up, but my God still loves me and I'm still in relationship with him and I can still go back to him and he's still waiting for me. It's just, there's no joy like that. So when you face things like a pandemic, the coronavirus, economy issues, social issues, you just have a rest that you don't have when you don't know God. And so that's the biggest thing, is that he loves you, and he wants so desperately just to be closer to you. A lot of times, it's more so about him wanting to talk to us than it is about him wanting us to talk to him like he does. But he just loves that time to be able to download things and show us things and give us wisdom. And so there's no better life than having that constant love from a daddy, especially for someone like me who didn't have a father growing up. I think that's a lot of the issues too, as far as women and why we chase men and why we chase these different relationships. But it's like the love of God that's so accepting, and you stop having to perform for people and make people like you and be accepted by everyone, because you just like, you know who you are. And it's just, once you get that relationship, everything in your life just flows. So I just want you to just be encouraged and just know that it's never too late. It's not about perfection. You just come to God how you are, and he just works everything else out. And he just makes you better and better. And whatever it is that, you see for your future, whatever you desire, it can happen. Because I look at myself and I see where I am now, and how my life, like, I'm living my dreams. Like, it was my dream to be on stage, to be performing, to have an opportunity to live my gifts. And that happened once I decided to see God, like once I decided to seek him and trust him and really give him my life. And so, like I said, it's not an easy road, but it's also not easy when you live on the opposite road.
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of issues either way.
It's gonna be something if it ain't nothing, you know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be something. So at least like with this life, he's promising us that after all this is over, like when the world ends, like you still have a paradise, a heaven, a mansion to get to, where that crying and that depression and all of that stuff is no longer there. So it's so worth it.
Well, that's what's up. I really appreciate you for sharing this knowledge, dropping the jewels, empowering all of us. I'm empowered by the interview, so I want to say thank you. Hopefully we can do a part 2 for the next album, and when you go platinum, you can send me that plaque. Get me right, sis. You know what I'm saying?
I just like to see, you got that faith speech too. Like you speaking it, and it's from your mouth to God's ears to manifest.
That's what's up, man.
I'm so thankful that you had me. This was a privilege. You are awesome. I love what you're doing. Just creating a platform for artists like me is it's so important to have these opportunities to get that exposure. And so I just thank you for what you're doing for myself and all of the other artists that you serve, and continue to speak blessings on everything that you do, on your family, and just excited to see what God does for you in this experience.
Girl, my dog, man. Thank you. But I definitely want to do a part 2. I was very excited to do this with you because we need more of these, positive people like you on here in front of everybody, despite the fact of the ignorance in the comments and the negative thing that takes place. I like spreading these messages, so I definitely will want to do you again. You know what I'm saying? After we promote the album a little bit, get it popping a little bit more. I already started promoting it today. I've been sharing it on the gram. So 31 gang. You know what I'm saying? So I already been doing my part, and I'm gonna continue to help share it or whatever. It only take 2 seconds to show support for people who serious and positive. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it should be. So
well, I thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And that's the thing, like, y'all, we're not in a place where people are just dropping off that $10 anymore, but that share is just as valuable. Like, just hit the share, run up the streams, and just hit the share for me.
Exactly. It's all good, just like that. It's easy. So I'm gonna do my part. Like I say, I already started before the interview started. So I started early. So, I like what you're doing, and keep embracing women, natural beauty. The book is out, devotional. Let's do your thing on that. Go get that book, y'all. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you, DJ. I really appreciate you. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Such a soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.